like to tell me that it's alright, but I can feel it when it's just not right. They like to tell me that it's okay, yeah, but I know that it's not alright. They like to tell me that it's alright, but I can feel it when it's just not right. They like to tell me that it's okay, yeah, but I know that it's not alright, not right.
Pokemon Gold and Silver.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Slime Boss here, and welcome back to some more Pokemon Gold and Silver. Last time we finished the game, we defeated Red, and we captured all of the legendary Pokemon. And yeah, this time is, of course, the bonus video. If you don't know, the bonus videos essentially cover any post-game content that I didn't cover in our initial videos. The second would be the multiplayer, any multiplayer elements that are in these games, and 3, any fun facts or interesting bits of information that you might want to know. So, of course, we are going to be starting off with the post-game because it's quite beefy. As I explained before in the main game, there are a lot of daily events because this game actually came with like a little battery inside and allowed you to do different sort of daily events. This is how the berries are able to grow and things like that. So, of course, we start off with these swarms. Any day, certain Pokemon will come, more Pokemon will actually come out. And any of the trainers that you have saved in your phone will actually call you and say, whoa, there's like a bunch of Pokemon in this area. It's almost like a predecessor to like the outbreaks in like Scarlet and Violet and Legends Arceus. So it actually kind of started here. Next up is the Goldenrod Lottery. Of course, you can take place in this every single day. It's on the Lucky Channel, and I think it's like depending on like what the lottery numbers are and if they match with any Pokemon in your party's ID, you'll have a chance of winning prizes, including a Master Ball. This can be done once daily. And of course, in the Goldenrod Underground, different days of the week, you can actually find different shops that are available. These shops include the Bargain Shop, which is only available in the Monday mornings. The Hairdresser, the older brother hairdresser, will be available on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. That's how you help with your friendship levels. The younger brother hairdresser is only available Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. And the Herb Shop, which are herb items, is only open on Saturdays and Sundays. So if you're wondering why, like, you walk down there and there's like no shopkeepers, or there's only one shopkeeper, that is why. They're only available on certain days of the week. Next up is the SS Aqua, excuse me. Apparently, you can only make trips from each of the regions twice a week in real life, and depending on which path that you take, either to Kanto or to Johto, they will actually have different trainers on board, which is something that I didn't do. I never took the SS Aqua, back to Johto, and actually will have different trainers that you can fight. There won't be any story bits anymore, but yeah. So the days that it leaves from Vermilion to Olivine is Wednesday and Sunday, and the days that it goes from Olivine to Vermilion is Monday and Friday. But of course, if you're later in the game, or in the post game, of course, you can actually just go ahead and if you're later in the Cantonian post game, you can actually just take the Magnet Train and just find your way back in Johto, and you can take that any day of the week. Something that I didn't mention in the main playthrough is that one time that you fight your rival right before Victory Road, that last time that you fight him, it isn't actually the last time that you fight him, because there is actually one more battle that you can actually do, or one more, quote unquote, is that you can actually infinitely rematch him on certain days of the week. And this time he'll actually be, in the Indigo Plateau rather than in Victory Road. And so you can actually rematch him every single week. And this is pretty much a staple that has been going on since the beginning. I wasn't aware of this, and even in Generation 1, you can obviously refight Blue at the Indigo Plateau because he's champion once again. So you just have to refight him in order to do that. But this one is, you don't have to go through the Elite Four, you can just fight him right away. And he is only available on Monday and Wednesday. And of course, he's only there after you defeat the Elite Four, right? And of course, his levels have actually increased. They won't increase after this point, but they have indeed increased, and it's part of the reason why I'm kind of sad I didn't do this, because this is essentially, you know, new content. So he has a Sneasel, a Crobat, a Magneton, a Gengar, and an Alakazam, and of course, whatever starter that you didn't pick. And the levels are 48, 45, 48, 46, 46, and 50 respectively. So it is technically an increase of what it was before, and so it actually is a late game super boss, so, or a post game super boss that we just didn't actually do because I didn't know about it. So I'm mentioning it now because I didn't cover it, and that's what the most bonus videos are for. And of course, there are the weekly events, which is something that I did mention before. Back in the day in Pokemon Red and Blue, they actually give you a free Lapras during one of the rocket segments of the game. In this game, they also give you one. Every Friday, you can find a Lapras in Union Cave, so go ahead and catch that for yourself. And of course, the Clefairy Dance, which is an event that I missed out on completely, is at Mount Moon, and every Monday night, you can see a cute little cutscene of Clefairies dancing. And finally, the day of the week siblings, everywhere around, I believe we had ran into one of them. I don't even remember. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. I don't know. It's been about a year and a half since I actually recorded the video. So, suffice to say, I don't remember. But I do remember I mentioned it during the series, so I am going to be referencing it now. So every single day and every single week, you'll be able to meet up with these trainers. On Monday, you'll meet up with Monica, who will give you a shark beak, and she is located on Route 40. On Tuesday, you'll run into Tuscany. Tuscany. And they will give you a pink bow, and they're on Route 29. Wednesday, you'll meet Wesley. He'll give you a black belt at the Lake of Rage. Thursday, you'll meet Arthur, and he'll give you a hard stone on Route 36. On Friday, you'll meet Freda with a poison barb on Route 32. Saturday, you'll meet Santos with a spell tag in Blackthorn City. And Sunday, you'll meet Sunny, who will give you a magnet on Route 37. So basically every single week you can talk to these guys and they will give you those items at the locations that I have stated before. Finally, there is second to last thing, there's one more legendary that we actually didn't do, and that is Celebi. Celebi is a very special event that, unfortunately, because of the way that I recorded this series, I just straight up do not have access to finding this Pokemon at this time. It is an event that I believe that distributed exclusively in Japan, but it was translated and it was meant to be distributed in the West, but it was very seldom and not many people knew about it until the 3DS re-release, where it came bundled and packaged in the crystal version of the game, which I will be eventually covering soon. So yeah, of course, this is a in-game event that is accessible through Mystery Gift, which is one of the few things that you can actually get in Mystery Gift in this game, because it is a very primitive Mystery Gift at the time, and it is a whole event with a whole cutscene. Anyways, the final post-game content is, of course, the Elite Four rematches. As I said in the previous Pokemon bonus video, these games are the only ones that have the Elite Four rematches, because they typically have, I don't think they have actually news of stats or anything, but you can rematch them, and you're able to do it since Generation 1. However, it wasn't until Generation 4 or 3, I'm not remembering on the top of my head, where you can actually rematch gym leaders, where I had said previously that you could rematch gym leaders in the last video. So check out the older videos if you want the actual facts, but you cannot rematch gym leaders here, and you can rematch the Elite Four. I just don't know if they have higher stats or not. Check out the Pokemon Yellow bonus video for that information. Alright, next up is the multiplayer. I know we did a collab Let's Play with Young Pug, but we never actually did anything with the multiplayer. In this game, of course, you can do the traditional battling and trading between Generation 2 games, but there's also a post-game location. I believe it is Gary's house, or not Gary's house, I'm sorry, Bill's house, the guy who made the computer or the PC. There is something called a time capsule, and you are actually able to trade between Generation 1 and Generation 2 games, being able to fill out the Pokedex. And so you can actually bring up your Pokemon from the previous generation, but that's as far as you can go. You can't actually bring Pokemon up from Generation 2 to Generation 3, and this is pretty much the only stopgap. But, of course, if you're playing the 3DS versions of Generation 1 or Generation 2 games, you can actually bring these Pokemon up through Pokemon Transporter into Pokemon Bank and into Pokemon Home from there. Now, I have to say that at the time of recording this video, there hasn't been an alternate way to access the Nintendo eShop. I know that there's technically ways of bringing those servers back up, but at this time, there is not. Which means if you have a 3DS lying around that does not have Pokemon Home or Pokemon Transporter already installed or previously installed from that account, you cannot access these games any longer. Which means that you're essentially blocked out of transferring Pokemon from 1 and 2 again, and every generation before that. You now can't transfer them into the modern generations on Switch because Pokemon Home or Pokemon Bank is now unfortunately unavailable on the Nintendo eShop. So, well, it's still available, but the servers are down. So, essentially, to break it down a little bit clearer, Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Green if you're in Japan, Gold, Silver, and Crystal are only accessible if you had downloaded the games already, which means that if you have not purchased it at this point, you cannot purchase them going forward into the future. However, if you already did, you can of course re-download them. Unfortunately, we don't know how long re-downloads will be able to go, are going on for. Number 2, the next thing that I have to cover is Pokemon Bank, because as of right now, I believe that you can download them, Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Transporter. Don't quote me on that. I think that you can, no matter if you've never downloaded it before. If you have downloaded it before, then obviously you can. But if you haven't, I'm pretty sure that you can, and it's free now because it used to cost money before. It is now free, and you're able to still download it while you still can. I'm not 100% sure how long this will last, or if that's even true. And then once you do download it, you can, if you have all your Pokemon games, X, Y, Black and White, Black 2, White 2, any of the DS games, any of the 3DS games, and these Game Boy games on your 3DS, as long as you transport them to Pokemon Bank, you can transfer them to Pokemon Home. As long as you have those games. If you don't, then unfortunately, from now on, you won't be able to transfer Pokemon. Now, I believe at the end of April or March of 2024, at the time of making this video, the online servers for the Nintendo 3DS will be going down. Unlike last year where just the eShop went down. Now, online servers for games like Smash, Mario Maker, things like that are just going to be straight up shut down. You cannot access the internet other than the browser on your Wii U or 3DS. And so you won't be able to access any of the internet servers, as that will be shutting down, just like the DS previously. And of course, there are probably ways in the future where people are going to be able to have private servers where you can still do all of this stuff. So at the current time of making this video, none of those things are accessible, and I don't think Pokemon has put any word out. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about that, but I don't think that you will be able to access Pokemon Home anymore. So make sure you transfer your Mons from Generation 1 and 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7 up into Pokemon Home, so you can bring them into the modern games, because pretty soon those servers will be shut down, and pretty much inevitably the servers will be shut down, period. So just make sure that you do that as soon as possible, because after those servers go down, if you thought there was a stopgap between Generation 2 and Generation 3, ooh, lordy. See, that wasn't a big deal, because you could capture everything in Generation 3. But Generation 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 getting a stop, or actually 3, 4, 5 getting a stopgap between 6 and 7, and 3 through 7 getting a stopgap to 8 and 9 is insane. So make sure you get those Pokemons transferred up, because pretty soon you won't be able to do that. And of course, back to the original versions of the game, you can actually transfer the Pokemon from these games into Pokemon Stadium 2, which I believe I had mentioned in the original game, the original Let's Plays of Generation 1 game. You can bring Pokemon from Generation 1, which is Red, Blue, Yellow, Green, into Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2. However, with the Gold and Silver games, you can only bring it into Pokemon Stadium 2. So make sure you are aware of that, because of course Pokemon Stadium 2 actually included the Gen 2 Mons. So yeah, and then that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, that's right. So I mentioned that you could battle and trade locally between other systems. You can also trade Pokemon from Generation 1 up into Generation 2. I don't think you can battle with Generation 1, but you can trade up to Generation 2. However, this is the first game, not Generation 4, with an online component. Now, of course, this was exclusive only to Japan, but you were able to connect your Game Boy or Game Boy Color specifically, to a phone, which would connect you to the wireless services and allow you to trade and battle, and I believe receive mystery gifts and other sorts of events from online, which is just absolutely insane. So yeah, that was pretty sick, actually. And of course, finally, the fun fact of the video, and it of course is that, the two towers that you see in the game, the one for Ho-Oh and the one for Lugia, well, one of them's burned down, those are actually real towers. So a lot of what you see online about this generation is that they poured their heart and souls into these games, and a lot of people say that it was they wanted it to be the last major game. They just put a lot of effort into it. I don't know. Did you know gaming also pretty much confirmed that these games they were never going to be the final games, that it's way too big of a franchise for them to stop at this point. But they just really put their heart and soul in these games, and I mean that literally and as a joke, because they of course remade this game, and obviously for a lot of fans it's one of the best remakes ever, period. Even if you don't like Generation 2, they just put so much care into crafting that remake. And so there's a lot of research that went into this. So if you thought there was a lot of little hidden Easter eggs and stuff to real history in the Pokemon of Generation 1, Generation 2 takes that and it's tenfold, right? Like the legendary dogs are actual mythics in Japanese, folklore and history. And of course, the towers themselves are actually real towers that you can visit. I don't know if they're actually burned down or still a thing, but you could go and visit in Japan. So there's a lot of real historical locations that are in this game that are actually in real life, and they pretty much did explore Japan and find different things to fit into this game. So that's pretty cool. And of course, this was a collab Let's Play, so shout out to my boy Young Pug. He's, I introduced him to this game. He kind of dabbled in Pokemon in the past, and he's been enjoying playing through Arceus and Scarlet and Violet in the modern era. So I finally was like, hey, you want to maybe do not really a collab Let's Play, but where we play the game side by side and he agreed, and I think that he thoroughly enjoyed himself. So shout out to Pug. We really appreciate you. And I'll leave a link to his channel in the description, or I'll just tag him. You know, YouTube has that new tagging feature. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this series. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, in the description, there's a link to my link tree where you can find my Twitter, my Instagram, all that stuff, as well as my Discord if you want to join in on all the fun stuff that I do and get notified whenever I post a new video. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time for whatever we do next. Bye.